Back to Hardball, as we just saw, President Trump has a pattern, don't you think, of prefacing facts with most people don't know or most people don't realize. Jenna Johnson writes in the Washington Post that Trump's lessons are often accompanied by raised eyebrows, widened eyes, and a gee-whiz look that suggests perhaps the nation is witnessing the president's education in real time. Let's bring in tonight's Hardball Roundtable. Andy Linskey, national political reporter for the Boston Globe. Jason Johnson, politics editor for The Root and MSNBC political contributor, and Dana Milbank, who's just waiting for this. He's a columnist with the Washington Post. Dana, first of all, I did know that the French were our allies in the American Revolution. I have heard of Lafayette. Mm-hmm. We all know who Lafayette is. And every Republican certainly knows that Lincoln founded it was the first Republican president. All Republicans know that. Was Trump, did Trump really go to college? I mean, really. I mean, really.
Well, some people
go to business school?
Don't realize.
I think he just went to business school. Yeah. That's my guess.
He didn't. He went to Wharton undergrad, so some people don't realize the
Wharton.
He
skipped college.
Well, he just did the undergrad program and didn't do the graduate.
So he took marketing.
Yeah, lots of marketing classes. Not a lot of history classes, though.
I wouldn't say too many humanities. I don't think he took any literature. No, it's all new to him, and we're learning it. He's learning it on our watch. So we have to actually listen to him say, guess what? I bet you didn't know.
It reminds me of like your 7-year-old nephew who learned a new word today and tells everyone at Thanksgiving, like, I learned cooperation, or I learned President Kennedy did this. And they just repeat it over and over again. And eventually everybody in the room is like, you just kind of nod your head to make them feel good about themselves, when in fact it's something they should have known already.
But he democratizes his ignorance. If I don't know it, you don't know it. Right, nobody knows it. Right, it's like, thank you for sharing us in your abyss there.
It is very puzzling because we know he did go to the best schools. And we know he's like really smart.
Right.
Yeah. So it is surprising that he's come up with all these facts. And I have had that sensation. It's like the wonderment and the excitement of the discovery. It's like we are all his parent and we're proud that he's learning. I've been tracking this for a while. He learned, and most people don't know this, but war is expensive, that Iraq has oil reserves, that we have a trade deficit with Mexico.
Yes.
And most people don't know what a value-added tax is, or that Bill Clinton signed NAFTA. Yes, healthcare is hard. It's hard being the president, and you learn new things every day.
Like Frederick Douglass, who he realized at some point wasn't getting enough congratulations.
And not a lot of people knew about him.
No, he's getting more now.
The president's also shown a lack of historic knowledge on some situations. He talked about 19th century abolitionist Frederick Douglass. In the present, this is Dan Quayle stuff. Let's watch.
Frederick Douglass is an example of somebody who's done an amazing job and is being recognized more and more, I notice.
I think he gave his first speech in Nantucket 400 years ago or something. I mean, the idea that he's walking around.
You somewhat feel bad again for the people around him who have to nod, while he pretends this. But you're key about this, Chris. When you say he democratizes his ignorance, by saying nobody else knows this, he tries to pretend. Yeah, he tries to pretend, well, nobody else could possibly know this information because I have the best brain.
He does, but he does know some things that nobody else knows.
Oh, yeah.
Like
how much you got to pay in New York City's councilman
for example,
councilmanic privilege to start a
but he is also the guy. He's the guy who knew that Andrew Jackson could have stopped the Civil War, and he knew that Napoleon wouldn't have had so much trouble when he went into Russia if he didn't have those extracurricular activities the night before. Do you remember when he told us that history lesson?
He also knows where his tax returns are.
Right.
Well, he just said the other thing, and this is of course for you, Jason, because there's an ethnic aspect to this, and I want to give you the full shot here. He said that human trafficking is now worse than it's ever been.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm sorry. You ever heard of the triangle? You ever heard the slavery triangle?
When he says things like this is what reminds people all the time. You can't tell if you're offended by him or disgusted. And I sort of vacillate back and forth. I'm pretty sure slavery is the worst kind of human trafficking.
You ever see Roots?
Yeah, exactly. There was this whole movie that happened.
All people came here.
23andMe sort of explains a lot of it. But I think the president, again, it's because no one holds him accountable. Yeah. No one has ever just asked him in his administration.
Imagine the staff guy who says to her, staff woman says, Annie, I knew that, Mr. President.
Well,
I imagine that would go over really well.
There is a sort of a serious aspect to this, though, because sometimes it's you don't know. And I think when he came out with his slogan, "America First," maybe he didn't realize that was used in the 30s.
Yeah, it was done by the people who were accused of being Nazi sympathizers. Yeah. And he writes in the Washington Post that sometimes Trump will go a step further and suggest that Washington needs to simplify the way it talks about complicated complicated issue so that Americans will better understand. He took credit for calling his tax plans tax cuts instead of tax reform. Let's watch.
Tax reform doesn't work because we do have tax reform, but people don't understand that, you know, what we're doing is cutting taxes. We're also reforming, but that could be an increase in taxes. We're cutting taxes. So we go the tax cut and jobs plan.
And he argued that no one knew that community college was. Well, in fact, what is community college? Here he is explaining that.
Call it vocational and technical, perhaps, but use vocational because that's what it's all about. People know what that means. We don't know what a community college means.
Well, he's typed Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
The monkey's typed Merry Christmas. He's right about that. People think community college is some casual thing you pick up a photography course. No, it's how you get jobs because you've improved your actual technical and useful education.
And reform, actually, tax reform is a phrase that the Globe we're not allowed to use because it is so vague.
So he's smart.
You know?
He did have an...
He's a bit smart
Afterward. He's a good marketer. I'll give him that. Yeah, we all know that.
And very
he's
creative.
A marketer.
He had an innovation a couple of weeks ago. He was talking to the Financial Times. He said, I just thought up the phrase, prime the pump.
Right.
I just thought of it.
No, he did not.
No, he didn't.
That was
John
FDR.
Maynard Keynes, it was almost, it was 80 years ago, the Great Depression, but he just discovered it.
It reminds me of Spiro Agnew that didn't know that calling somebody soft on communism was a big thing to do. You know, squishy soft. He had never heard it before. Anyway, the roundtable's sticking with us. And by the way, he was a former vice president. They're going to tell me something I don't know. We didn't know that. I'm just kidding. We're watching our...